Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome in. Sharpening the edge on this championship weekend, December the 2nd, along with Lucas Reimink from the Maize and Blue Review. I'm Dennis Fithian. We're ready to make a bunch of picks and do some gambling. And we pick all kinds of games, and we continue heading into this weekend. Lucas, how are you?
Doing well. It was obviously a good weekend last week for the Maize and Blue, so hopefully we'll keep up the winning ways. Hopefully we'll try and win you guys some money as well. Should be a good week.
I don't think we would have quite the energy of talking about, gambling can help that when you don't really have an interest or a rooting interest. A dog in the fight, I think is what they say. But since Michigan does, it's like all these games mean something. And the menu's a lot lighter, to pick through and everything else. But, having said that, let's jump in and start picking. We will, before we go, people are like, hey, where's Justice? He has moved on, and we pour one out for Justice right now. So with that, we're going to start with the Big Ten title game tomorrow night at Lucas. Not Reimink Oil Field, but I don't think so. Lucas Oil Field, Michigan, you've seen it from 16.5, 17, maybe a little bit. 17 is where it sits right now with an over and under of 52. How do you see this game, Lucas?
I'm going to lay the points with Michigan. I like the number there. I saw it at 16.5, so you can get that number. I would definitely recommend going out and getting that before it pops to 17 or 17.5 before kickoff. And I like the number because last week we kind of saw something from this Michigan offense that we haven't really seen all year. I talked about it a little bit last week when I was talking about the Michigan-Ohio State game. We haven't really seen the offense hit on the deep balls. And last week we finally did see them hit on some deep balls. And I think that's the big X factor in opening things up for this offense as a whole. I think that was a really big momentum builder, both for JJ and the wide receivers, be able to do that on the road against a really good team. Statistically, what was a really good defense. So I think that will probably continue here is my summation. Purdue's defense is not quite as good as Ohio State's. They're 33rd in the country in yards per play defense. But Michigan just put up 45 points against Ohio State, which fell from 8th in total defense yards per play allowed to 18th after they played Michigan. So they fell quite a bit there statistically. I think Michigan will do something similar to Purdue. We've seen them start slow at times, Michigan. I don't think they'll have a ton of issues containing this Purdue offense. That seems a little bit too one-dimensional for me. Michigan's defense has been playing really well. And I think it also helps that they just played a pass-heavy team last week. They're going to play another pass-heavy team this week. So I think that could also help them out. I think the pass rushers will eventually start getting pressure on Aiden O'Connell, force an interception or two in the second half, and Michigan will cover the spread.
I think it's an excellent point, one I hadn't thought about with Stroud throwing the ball all over the place. Michigan now seeing on a fast track with the Boilers receivers, that should help them. That's an excellent point. However, I am looking at this game. I think it's going to go a lot like Michigan games this year, kind of close in the first half, and then Michigan, whatever they're doing at halftime, they're going to come out and, slam the door and just cruise right past Purdue. However, I think the Boilers, Michigan, they don't need style points. They don't need to run it up. Once they get comfortable, I think they can really batten down the hatches and just, say, let's celebrate and let's get to New Year's Eve in the college football playoff. That's why I think Michigan will win this game, but not by 16 or 17 points. I have it at 38-24. But my pick is going to be for the over 52. I really like the over 52. And that's going to be my selection. We picked Michigan, Michigan State, and the Lions, a trio of games, a parlay, a prop, and a lock of the week. Michigan State, I guess we have to pour one out for them too. They're not going to be playing any more football. I can say that their season, when I think about early in the year, me picking Michigan State a few times, it was so difficult picking Michigan State. I got to think Michigan State fans, if they were betting on their team all year long, that they're all, broke.
Yeah, they're a very inconsistent team. Like what would happen with them one week didn't necessarily carry over to the next week. So they never really got to build momentum off any wins. They lose a game and then they come back the next week and look really good. And it's like, man, I don't know how to get a gauge on this team. And yeah, no, I agree with you. They're a hard team to bet.
So are the Lions, who on Thanksgiving were able to cover the 9 points or whatever they were getting, 8 points against Buffalo. This time they're getting just one single point against the Jacksonville Jaguars. This looks like that on paper that neither team is going to be able to stop the other. 51 points, pretty big number for the over and under. How do you see this one?
Yep, I think it's too many points. I'm going to go under 51.5. The Lions defense has been playing better on recent weeks. I think in particular the secondaries looked a lot better than it did early on in the year. I'm a big fan of Trevor Lawrence, but he's been really inconsistent. He's had 1 week where he looks like a world beater. Next week where you watch him, you're like, man, is this really a guy? Like, I'm not really sure. And he had a big week last week, so I'm kind of just guessing that he'll regress to the mean here a bit this week. I think the Lions win something like 24-23. That gives you a 1 point spread, and that's a pretty clear under here. So that's where I see most of the value on this game. So I'll take the under 51.5.
Well, I'm taking the Lions plus 1 point. I picked the score pretty high, so that would end up being over. Not to go against you with that, but my real play is the Lions and winning this game outright. Of course, I would take that point. Actually, I think I'll just work it into my bet so I get a little bit of value if they actually do win. So I like the Lions outright. Let's get to our trio of picks. This is always the fun one. We're not obligated to pick any teams. We have less to choose from. What 3 did you select?
Sure. So I'll start with maybe the most boring one. Toledo and Ohio MAC championship over 54.5. I really like Ohio's quarterback Curtis Rourke. He can really throw it. Can really spin it. He's got 3,200 yards this year, 30 touchdowns. And when I've watched him, I've been really impressed. He's listed as a junior, so I wouldn't be surprised if next year he is a guy that hops into the portal, tries to level up, get into a Power 5 job, and work himself into a starting quarterback for a bigger program next year. I think he's got the talent to be able to do that. And then on the other side, DeQuan Finn's kind of the star quarterback there for Toledo. And they set the line at Toledo -3. So to me, they're kind of baking in that he's going to be play and he's going to be healthy in this game. He's been sort of in and out of the lineup the last month or so for Toledo's offense there. But even if he doesn't go, the backup there has looked good as well. He's played really well. So I feel confident in both offenses will be able to put up points and move the football all game long. So I like the over 54.5 there in Toledo and Ohio. Then I've got another over. This one's kind of just the fading both defenses play. The over 63.5, Clemson and UNC. Both secondaries are really bad. Statistically, they're like 65th and 125th in terms of yards per attempt allowed. Fourth quarterbacks were highly ranked guys come out of high school, so they're both, they have the talent to be able to put up some points and yards in this game. DJ for Clemson's been struggling a little bit. He only had 99 yards last week against South Carolina. Going from what's a good secondary and a plus secondary statistically to one that is on par with some of the worst in the country. I think it's kind of like a get-right game for him. I think he'll be able to get back on track, have a good game. And then UNC is also 91st in rushing yards allowed on defense. So even if DJ isn't having a good game throwing the football, I think they'll be able to lean on the ground game and have a lot of success there as well. And Drake May was kind of in the Heisman conversation before a couple weeks ago. He had a bad game against Georgia Tech, sort of fell off the map there. But he's put up really good numbers this year as well. He's like in the top 10, top 5 statistically in terms of a lot of major statistics for quarterbacks this year. So I think both of them will be able to put up points. So I'll go over 63.5 there. And then talk a little bit more about this game in a little bit. But I got Kansas State +2. I've been on Kansas State for a few weeks now. I'm going to ride with them again here. They finally figured out on offense that Will Howard is just better than Adrian Martinez. Their offense is just so much smooth when he is operating it at the helm. Deuce Vaughn's a really good running back for them. And when they have a quarterback who can throw the ball down the field, really open things up for Deuce Vaughn, that good running game. And they like to run the ball, so it's a self-fulfilling prophecy there a little bit. The passing game gives them another downfield component. The defenses have to worry about the run game normally, so they have good balanced offense when they have Will Howard in there. That's just not the case when Adrian Martinez has been there. He's been a little bit limited throwing the ball really his whole career. He's just not very consistent in being able to do so. Then on defense, Kansas State's D-line, I think, is really good. I think they have a couple future pros on that D-line. I like the Wildcats to pull off the upset, so I will gladly take the +2 points here as one of my picks.
Well, we saw the picks up on the screen. If Shadyville wants to know about some prop plays, those are coming up straight ahead. But there you see it, the over in the Toledo and Ohio game, Clemson to North Carolina, over and K-State. Everybody in the country is rooting for K-State except TCU and Michigan fans. But this is not rooting. This is you trying to win money. So you're putting all those rooting interests to a side, and you're trying to actually score. I have not done that. I have gone with some picks that I want to see happen. And my three teams, I want USC to win, and I'm going to pick them to win, and I'm going to lay the 2.5 against Utah. I want to see TCU win the game over K-State. You said +2. I see it -1.5. Whatever. I'll lay the 2 points if that's the way it is. And LSU, I think they just keep it close enough, kind of like I think Purdue is going to do, and I think that they'll just be able to backdoor cover against Georgia. So I like USC, TCU, and LSU tomorrow, and those are how I see. That's how I see the games, at least with my trio of picks. Well, you mentioned a parlay and prop. I actually have a screen to go to lay you out and show you my college football playoff 4-team sizzler parlay. And I just went on the money line. This is how I want to see it play out. And I get +260 if I pick Georgia, Michigan, TCU, and USC on the money line. You get +260. I don't have any issues. I think it's going to be really easy for Georgia and Michigan to win. TCU and USC, you already see Lucas has taken Kansas State, so he's already going against my parlay, but we'll see how that plays out. But there it is. There's 4 teams for you: Georgia, TCU, USC, Michigan, and Michigan fans will be happy if it plays out like that. That's what I'm rooting for. That's what I'm betting. What about you?
It's funny that that's your parlay, because I have 3 of the same picks in my parlay, and then I'm just replacing your TCU with my Kansas State.
Oh,
so it's Georgia, Michigan, USC, Kansas State is my 4-team money line parlay. That's 338 on the odds there. I think that's good value for the statistical probability that all 4 of those games end up happening with the result that I want. So I like those odds.
Well, and you get a better number by picking the underdog there, so that's good. Prop play was asked about. Let's go right back to you. Prop plays are fun, and Shadyville wants to see one, and here's Lucas Reimink with a prop play for you.
Yeah, so I was talking a little bit earlier about the Kansas State D-line. I think they're pretty good. I think Keandre Miller is a really good running back for TCU, but I think when he's going up against this Kansas State defensive line, I think they're going to be able to contain him a little bit better than they did in the first matchup. So I would expect TCU to have to go to the air a little bit more here. So that's kind of what I'm playing off of here. I'm going to go Quentin Johnson, the wide receiver for TCU, over 68.5 receiving yards. He is a freak athlete. He's long, he's athletic, he's got a huge catch radius, and he's also really fast. So he can create a lot of mismatch issues for defenses down the field. I don't think there's anyone from Kansas State who can really match up against him. And you feel good about that matchup. They might be double covering him all game, but he's so big and so tall that I'm not sure it really matters. So I think Quentin Johnson going over 68.5 receiving yards is a good bet there for the TCU.
You know, I love the prop last week of J.J. McCarthy, the over in passing yards, and he was able to get that, I think, in the first half, which was pretty exciting, you know, betting that. I'm going back to the Michigan-Purdue game, the Big Ten title game, and I'm looking at a prop in the wide receivers, and I know, you know, it was a 69-yard lightning strike to Kojo that got Michigan going, and then he got a 75-yarder all in the first half. I don't know if he's going to do that, but I do think that J.J. McCarthy, trusting a receiver and going to him. Remember when it was first down in the fourth quarter and Michigan was only up by 4? He threw another bomb to Kojo. It was an interference call on the Buckeyes. I think that Cornelius Johnson's going to have a big day. And the prop on his over and under 38.5 yards, heck, he just needs to catch one. I like that. I'm playing the over 38.5 yards when it comes down to Kojo tomorrow night at Lucas Oil Field. That's my prop. Now we get to our locks of the week. This is where we put everything and tell you, you're really thinking about betting something this week. This is where we are telling you to put your money, and we're going to have Lucas Reimink on his lock of the week selection.
Yeah, you picked this game earlier. You went USC. I'm also going USC, the -2.5 there. I watched the first matchup between these two teams, and as a non-biased observer, there are a number of critical penalties in that game that all seem to go in Utah's favor. And it ended up being a 1-point Utah win, which is at home. So, take that for what you will. I thought USC should have won that game. I don't think the officials got that one right towards the end there. And since those two played, Cam Rising, who's Utah's quarterback, he's really gotten banged up. Hasn't been playing as well. His mobility is a big part of his game, so I think that's something that really matters when you're talking about Utah's offense. Also in that game, Dalton Kincaid, when he was going up against a USC secondary, he's their star tight end there. He had 16 receptions, 234 yards, and a touchdown. To me, that kind of screams outlier performance that he's very unlikely to replicate. So I don't think. Well, I do think USC's defense will have a much better plan to kind of combat what he does well, and will have a better chance at limiting him in this game. And he is their best receiving threat. USC's offense also on the other side has been rolling really well. It's kind of the midway point in the season. They haven't been held under 38 points since early October. I think that offense keeps it rolling against the Utah defense that hasn't been near as good as I thought it would be coming into this season. USC had a number of good matchups that they liked and kept attacking. Last week out wide, they liked throwing to Jordan Addison, of course, their star receiver, and Mario Williams, kind of their slot receiver there. They went to those guys a bunch. I think they'll do the same again. I think they'll be able to put up points, and I think they'll cover this 2.5. And if you think they're going to win close, you might as well just take them to cover. So that's what I'm going to do here. That's my lock, USC -2.5.
I'm going to take your advice, and I'm going to get after it tonight to kick the weekend off right. Take the Trojans minus the 2.5. I'm right there with you. For me, I looked at the team total for Michigan, and it's 34.5. Well, I don't like them because I'm scared about them having the game won and then Purdue getting like a late touchdown to just cover that. I do like Michigan's offense to get over the 34.5. They scored 45 against the Buckeyes on the road. Yeah, Illinois and even Nebraska, 34 points there, but Michigan could have scored more points if they really wanted to against Nebraska. Those games were outside. This game, inside. Perfect conditions. I think Michigan goes big over the 34.5, and that's going to be my lock of the week. Michigan over 34.5. I think they're going to score 38 easily. Wouldn't surprise me to get into the 40s. So if you want to take an adjusted line there, you might want to do that. That would be my advice for lock of the week. All right, my lock is that I know you're going to be watching this game. I'm going to put my money on that tomorrow night that you'll be watching Michigan and Purdue. Tell me how you do it, Lucas. What's going to happen? What's going to be the scenery? What's your game plan for Michigan Purdue tomorrow night?
I'm not really sure yet. I talked to some friends about possibly going to the game, but that kind of fell apart. So I wanted to go. It would have been a really cool opportunity to be able to go, but just couldn't quite figure it out with my friends to get it coordinated. So yeah, I'll just be watching it on TV like normal. Hopefully it's, kind of stress-free. I don't want to have to be worried about if they're going to win it or not. I think they're in the playoffs either way, so that doesn't necessarily matter, but still obviously like to see them win the game and kind of clinch that number 2 seed and probably head out to Arizona for their semifinal game.
Well, how about next year when they go to to their third consecutive Big Ten title game? We'll make sure that we go to that one. I'll be ready for that one. And last year it really was stress-free, 42-3 over Iowa, that same field. It would be nice to have another one like that. I don't think Donovan Edwards is going to be throwing the ball with that cast on his right hand, but it was pointed out to me today that Donovan Edwards has more passing touchdowns in a Big Ten title game than CJ Stroud. So look at, man, Ohio State's down bad when you got a running back with more touchdowns than your Heisman Trophy candidate and CJ Stroud. All right, Lucas, great job, and enjoy Championship Saturday, and hopefully all of our picks come through.
Absolutely. Go Blue.
There he is, Lucas Reimink, Dennis Fithian.